This is self-test for adding and subtracting fractions, and the number 1 is 3/7 plus 2/7. When you're adding fractions, you want to make sure that the bottom number or the denominator is the same. If it's the same, you just carry the denominator to the answer, and you add the top two numbers. You add those two together. So number 1, you get 5/7. Grab my eraser. I thought I had everything organized. Okay. So 2, we have 3/5 plus 1/5. So the first thing you want to look for is this number the same? If it's the same, then you just put it in your answer on the bottom, and then you add these two numbers together. So 3 plus 1 is 4. So number 2, you get 4/5. If you have all of these lines and stuff in your solving of your equation, you might want to put a box around your answer or something to kind of make it stand out so that the person knows this is my final decision. When you get your answer, you want to look at it and you want to know if it's in the lowest form possible. So you're going to look at the number, is it odd or even? This is even, so it's divisible by 2. So you're going to look at your bottom number, is this odd or even? Well, this one's odd, so 2 can't go into that. So we know that this 4/5 is in its lowest form. Okay, so number 3, we have 2/4 plus 1/4. If you do the same steps every single time, it helps to take away error too. So what's your lowest number? Is it the same? The denominator is the same? Yes, we put it in our answer. We don't have to even mess with that. Then we're adding, so we're going to go straight across. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we're looking at our answer. Is this odd or even? It's odd. Is this odd or even? It's even. So if we have an odd on top and an even on the bottom, unless the bottom number is divisible by 3, that's your lowest common denominator, or your lowest fraction, proper fraction. Another way to do that is to say, to make sure that it's the lowest, is you say, what times what is 3? Well, 3 times 1 is 3. And there's nothing else to multiply to get 3, just 1 and 3, those are the two numbers. And the same thing with 4, you say, well, 4 times 1, and the other way to get 4 is 2 times 2. So the only number these have in common is 1, so if you tried to reduce the fraction by 1, you wouldn't change it. So 3/4 is your lowest possible fraction. So number 4 is 2/3 plus 1/6. So this one, we don't have a common denominator. So this is where I like to use 2 different colors because it helps me, if I need to review before a test, I can look and see what steps I did. So the easiest way to find a common denominator between these two is you can either try to see if this number goes into this number, or vice versa, or you can just multiply 3 times 6 because you know that those are both going to go into that number because you multiplied them together. So we're going to do this with 6 as the common denominator because 3 does go into 6. If we use 6, we don't change this because we multiply this by 1 to get 6, so we don't even need to do anything to that. This side of the equation we're going to multiply by 2, and we have to do the same thing to the top of the equation that we do to the bottom. So 2 times 2 and 3 times 2. So we're going to bring it down. 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. This is the exact same as this. The difference is this is not in its lowest possible form. This is. So all we did was we increased it so that it's the same fraction, it's just not reduced. Then we can just add straight across. So now we have the common denominator of 6, and 4 is our top number. Okay, she doesn't want you to erase, so line through it. 4 plus 1 is 5, and then 6 is your denominator. Now, that was if we did 6 as the denominator. You would get the same answer if you did 3 times 6 is 18. It's just more steps in the end. So I always try to find the lowest number to start, which isn't always possible, but I like simple. Was that 4 or 5? 5. That was 5. Okay. Clearly I'm losing it. Okay. 6 is a subtraction. 15 over 16 minus 5 over 16. When they're mixed and you're doing addition and subtraction in the same set of questions, sometimes it's easier just to put a mark around what you're doing so that you make sure that if you go through all the steps to get the common denominator, that the mistake you make is not addition or subtraction, because that's really a blow to the ego. So we're just going to go straight across. The denominator is both 16, so we're going to subtract straight across. Put our 16 down here, it doesn't change, and we're going to subtract 15 minus 5. And that's not it. So we put one line through it. 15 minus 5 is 10, and the common denominator is 16. So now we look at our answer. Is it odd or even? It's even, so that means it's divisible by 2. We do the same thing to the top of the equation that we do to the bottom, and we're going to divide both by 2, and we come up with 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. We look at that equation and we say, is it odd or even? The top is odd, bottom is even. If so, it's more than likely in the lowest form. The way to know for sure is anything that ends in a 0 or a 5 is divisible by 5. So this does not have either one of those, so we know that this is our lowest possible form. So that is our answer. Okay, 7 is 3 sevenths minus 2 sevenths. Again, you can darken this or whatever you need to do to remember that you're subtracting, because we did switch. 7 is the same on both fractions, so 7 goes on the bottom of the answer. We're subtracting, so we're going to subtract 3 minus 2, and we're going to get 1. So we look at this, 1's the top number, 1's reduced, you can't reduce it anymore, so we're just going to leave that. Okay. 8 is 3 fifths minus 2 fifteenths. So first thing we do is we look at the denominator. It's different. So now we can either say 5 times 15 and find that number, because obviously they're both going to go into whatever the heck that is, 75 or something. Or you can say, does 5 go into 15? Well, heck yeah, it does. That's a lot easier. So we're going to make 15 our common denominator. Always bring your sign, if you're rewriting it, always bring your sign down so that, again, you don't make a little mistake. So this fraction does not change because we used 15 as our common denominator. So we're going to do to these fractions whatever we need to do to get this common denominator, which 5 times 3 is 15. So we're going to multiply each side by 3. Sorry, that might be confusing. 3 times 5 and 3 times 3. And the reason I put parentheses around it is for a reason like this, where the 8 is right next to the parenthesis, and so that I know that it's not 8.3 times 3, or the instructor, if they're real nitpicky, they can mark it down for that. So always put parentheses around it so that I know it's separate, or you can circle your answer, or just don't write it that close like I did. So 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 3 is 15, that's how we got that. Now we just subtract straight across. The 15 stays as the denominator, and then we subtract 2 from 9, and we get 7. So we look at this and we say, is this odd or even? 7's odd, but it's a prime number. It can only be divided by 1 in itself. So that is your final answer for 8. Nine is 11/15 minus 7/10. So this one's a little bit, it's going to be a little bit bigger number. You can multiply 10 times 15, which is 150, which is just agonizing with reducing, but it's totally possible. I like to find smaller numbers, so one way to do that is we're going to see what numbers 15 go into. So 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. Well, I know 10 goes into 30. You could even write it out. You could do the same thing and say 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 3 equals 30. Then you have the numbers that you're going to multiply to get your answer. You can see that that's a 5. Not a 12. 15 times 2 is 30. So 2 is what we're going to multiply both sides of this fraction to get the common denominator. And 10 times 3 is 30. So 3 is the number we're going to use on that side. So we're going to put 30 as our number down here. And to get to 30, we're going to multiply by 2. So we get 22 over 30 minus, we said we're multiplying 10 by 3. So 7 times 3 is 21, and it's over 30. So now you can subtract straight across, and you get 1 over 30. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 10 is 8/9 minus 5/12. I don't really like this one a lot because it requires more work. But we're going to do the same thing we did to the other one. We're going to say 9 times 1 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, 9 times 3 is 27, 9 times 4 is 36. I don't go very far with these because I'm hoping that I find it within the first 4 or 5 numbers. So then we're going to go with the 12. We're going to do 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 12 times 3 is 36. Yeah, we've got some common numbers right here. All right, I have really bad handwriting. So we're going to use 36 as the common denominator. So we're going to put 36, our little symbol, whatever symbol we're going to do. And we know 9 times 4 is 36. So we're going to multiply this side of the fraction by 4 to get 36. So we're going to say 4 times 9, we've got the 36 here. 4 times 8 is 32. Then we're going to look at what we have over here. To get 12 to 36, we multiply it by 3. So we're going to say 12 times 3. And again, we do the same thing to the top of the fraction that we do to the bottom of the fraction. And we have 5 times 3 is 15. Then we're going to subtract straight across. And I think it's 17. Does that sound right? 17 over 36. And I'm just going to double check because I don't have my calculator. No. What's wrong? All right. Okay, so I can't add. So it's 17 over 36. So again, we're going to put a box around it to say that that's our final answer. I skipped the step of is this odd or even because 17, the only thing that goes into it is 1 and 17. But if you ask is it odd or even, that helps a shortcut with odd or even if it was, if your final answer was 21 over 36, yes, this is an odd number. Yes, this is even, and most of the time we say, wow, that's it, the top number is odd, we can't do anything else. I always check 2, 3, and 5. Is it divisible by 2? No, because that's odd. Is it divisible by 5? No, because they don't end in 0. Anything that's divisible by 5 ends in a 0, like that. So with 3, a shortcut with that is if I can add this number plus this number, and it's divisible by 3, then I want to divide it and reduce it by 3. So all I'm doing is I'm in my head most of the time. I don't do the steps. I just say, okay, 2 plus 3 is 3. Okay, wait a minute. If you didn't know off the top of your head that 21 is 7 times 3, you'd say, oh, I can add that up. That ends up to be 3. 3 goes into 3. I might want to check the bottom number. Then you can add these two numbers. If those end up in a 3 number, a number that's divisible by 3, so any multiple of 3, then you divide, then you know to reduce by 3. So you would take 21 over 36, and if that was your final answer, it would be wrong. So you actually need to divide it out by 3. Again, the same thing on the top of the fraction that you do on the bottom of the fraction. And here you would get 7, is that 12? 7 twelfths. So we know 7 can't be reduced anymore, but if you didn't know that and you wanted to check, 7 times what is 7? 7 times 1. Is there anything else? No. So then you would have to see, does 7 go into 12? No. The only thing that's 12 is 12 times 1, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. So these don't have any numbers in common except for 1, and 1 does not reduce fractions.
Okay, my back's starting to hurt.
Okay. Did you pause or did you stop it?
Where are we?